Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 8, the last episode until the summer, according to that preview at the very, very end tonight.
At least we know when it's coming back. I mean, summer is long, so who knows when yet? But at least we know it's going to be not too far away. It's this year.
This is the first time that we've used the word summer in conjunction with Yellowstone that has not made people mad. So that has something going for it. Actually, this may still make people mad because we're talking about a really long wait here.
It is, but listen, time goes by really quick. Even like the holidays, all of a sudden I was like, oh, it's Christmas. Oh, now here we are, January 1st. It's just like this.
Who is going to die? There you go. There's a lot that happened in this episode. It is explosive.
Or could it be multiple people? I mean, like, it could be John, it could be Beth, it could be Jamie. Why is nobody talking about killing Sarah? She was standing right there and heard everything. She's going to for sure go.
Are we at the point of no return? That is one of many, many questions. But before we go further, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We will be back all the way down the road, or, down a piece, as we said back in Texas, to talk a little bit more about the show. And we don't want you to miss any of that.
Absolutely. And we're going to be covering The Last of Us here at the channel.
Yes.
We'll be back with Criminal Minds. There's a lot of really fun stuff that's coming up. So hit that subscribe button. Follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. Okay, we can't bury the lead. We got to jump right into it. We saw everything unfold tonight, starting with Jamie giving that speech. Ooh, that was such a good speech. It was so compelling. I'm not surprised that later it was like, and you got the votes. I was like, of course he got the votes. It was tough to watch. I mean, like, oh my God.
Jamie is such a good character. And I mean that in the sense of not that I like Jamie, not that I'm rooting for Jamie, but he is the ultimate sort of smarmy hollow man. And by that, I mean that he can go up there and deliver this rousing speech that sounds really, really intelligent. But if you just go up to Jamie and just like flick him, he turns into dust. There is nothing there. He is just somebody who is parroting a little bit of Sarah's words combined with his own anger and resentment, but he can flip-flop on a dime. He is so innately unlikable in just about every way, and it's okay to say that there's a good character and we also hate that character. Like, that can be true.
I was saying all season, and I've been saying this in the past too, that Jamie needed a win. And I'm not saying he needs a win because, again, he's not a character that I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
However, there needs to be a back and forth that's going on here where sometimes Beth and John are going to have a win. Sometimes Jamie's going to have a win because it seems like he's just a punching bag throughout this series. He never seems to be getting any kind of wins. So there's no kind of stakes in the game. And now there really is stakes in the game here where John is looking at losing his office, losing his ranch, losing everything, potentially going to jail. I mean, if everything really comes out, that whole scene with Jamie and Beth and it all coming out and seeing him stand up to her through all of this, because I was always sitting back being like, why is Jamie doing this? He knows that Beth has these pictures of him and his dad and everything that he was doing. Why would he do this? And now it's all come out where he's just like, oh, you don't know about the train station? Ask Dad, because I know about the train station and I know that all his secrets are buried at the train station along with mine. So unbury mine and you lose the ranch, and you don't want that. I don't want that. So here we are. And I'm just like, Sarah's in the other room and he's just airing everything out. Yeah. How is nobody talking about getting rid of Sarah?
It is a very, very good question. I don't know if that's something that will be brought up down the road. Maybe both Jamie and Sarah can go to a train station together. Maybe that's a possibility. I feel stupid. I'm just going to say that right now because, like, for some reason, I never put it together that maybe Jamie would just call out the train station like this. Like, I really just felt like, kind of like you just sort of said, it's like, why would Jamie do this? Like, why would Jamie risk his own future knowing that Beth has got something on him? And maybe it's because I completely underestimate Jamie so much, or I'm just so like reluctant to even consider the idea of Jamie doing something smart that I just didn't envision that he would be willing to actually go there because he's a sniveling coward a lot of the time.
He is a sniveling coward, but when he grabs that courage, he really goes all out. That's always been kind of the thing with Jamie is if you keep winding him up, eventually he is just going to spin out
Yeah.
and you don't know where it's going to land. And because he is a smart guy, he is going to land on a lot of things that are going to hurt a lot of people. And he can be controlled, but only for a very short time. And then it turns into this where it's like, yeah, Sarah's controlling some stuff, but Jamie is in control of a lot of stuff, a lot more than I think he even realizes. So now we're in this situation where
Yeah.
Beth's like, well, can't we just take Jamie to the train station? You're just going to kind of take care of that. I had mentioned a couple weeks ago, I thought that Rip was going to be the person that ends up taking Jamie to the train station. I
Yeah.
think, here's my tinfoil hat,
All right.
Jamie is not making it out of this season alive. I think somebody is not going to make it out. And I don't think that it's going to be Beth. I think Beth is going to be okay. I think John is going to stay, but I think Jamie is going to go. And it would kind of suck to see him go because he has been, a good back and forth this season. But for a lot of this show, he has just been a punching bag for the family. And he hadn't been giving enough for me to be like, okay, I don't feel sorry for
Mhm.
him and I don't root for him. And there's nothing more that he's really bringing except here and there he might cause a little bit of trouble for the family. But I mean, that can be brought in a lot of different ways. He's not really part of them anymore.
We're going to dive a little bit more into that, including the return of a very old bit that I'm about to bring
Oh
back.
no, here
But
we go.
before we do that, if you guys are enjoying this discussion, these theories, hit that subscribe button. We want you guys to be with us the rest of the season. And now I'm already bald, so I'm just going to put the beard patch here, and I'm going to be Mike Ehrmantraut for a minute. Well, Mike Ehrmantraut didn't even have a beard all the time. You know what?
He did sometimes.
It varies, but I'm Mike Ehrmantraut now. No half measures. There's no half measures that you guys can take now, Yellowstone. You have put it all out on the table. Someone has to die.
Someone has to die.
Yeah.
Like, after that cliffhanger where it was like, could John and Casey and Beth,
Yeah.
somebody is very likely going to leave. That was one of the best cliffhangers I had ever seen. And
Yeah.
then they completely arrowed the situation. For anyone who's watched Arrow, where they had that amazing cliffhanger where he got like stabbed, he's bare chested, he's out in the mountains with the snow, he got kicked off, and then 3 days later he was brought back to life with some penicillin tea. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me with this. And Yellowstone did the same thing where it was like, there's these three main characters. I was
Yeah.
like, one of them is going to go. Like, they're taking the risk. Here it comes. And they didn't take the risk. I think they need to take the risk now. Now that everybody is on the same train, somebody's headed to the station. And I do think that it's Jamie. It makes the most sense.
I think it's probably Jamie too. Now I'm going to throw a really, really crazy possibility out there. And I'm not saying that they're going to do this because I think it would enrage a lot of people to no end. But let's just think about this for a moment. What if it's Beth who dies? And what if, as a result of all of this, you're leaving Jamie around, but you're leaving Jamie around now in a way where John has to acknowledge that he's so much more of a threat than he previously has because John has been just so willing to just sort of push off Jamie as just sort of nothing or just like this peon who went, to a fancy school, but he's not a real rancher. He's not a real cowboy, all this other sort of stuff. Like if Jamie goes, who is the real villain? And granted, you guys can come up with a bunch of other villains. You've had
For
800
sure.
market equity stooges so far, so it's certainly possible.
Absolutely, it is possible. I just don't think that they're going to get rid of really their only leading woman on the show. I just don't think that it's going to happen. Too many of us really love the Beth character and want to continue to see her changing and growing and all, being a badass as she is on the
Mhm.
show. I just think that that would really enrage fans, but it does make the most sense that it's going to be Jamie. I just thought that it was going to end up being Jamie because they've been kind of setting up these little moments where Beth is kind of opening up a little bit more about what Jamie did
Yep.
and his role in what she did and what was going on with that. But that she had said that not everybody knows everything, and that if they did, it would cause like people to be enraged. Rip. Rip would lose his mind. Rip would kill Jamie. And that's sort of where I thought it was going to go. So it was nice to see this tonight where it's like, oh, that's not where it's going to go, but Jamie's still going to be dead.
What would be really interesting, and this kind of feels a little bit like an end of a Dexter season, is that we do end up in a situation here where Jamie is dead, but maybe Jamie, before he goes, does out the entire train station. So it's like, yeah, you get rid of him, but you leave all of this wreckage, this huge mess that you have to clean up after the fact. I would endorse that, not like I'm rooting against everybody at the Yellowstone, but I love drama. I love mess. Give me the dumpster fire.
Yeah, and I want to see the people that we are rooting for. I mean, they can't just have win after win after win. Then it's kind of like, well, what are we watching? We want to see our heroes or the people that we root for relate to struggle a little bit so that they can get over the hill and then we feel good about the next sort of accomplishment they get. But John laid it out that this train station is sort of in this no man's land
Yeah.
where if it's all found out, it's not really going to be able to be tried or dealt with in any kind of way where it's like, yeah, all these bodies could come out, but could John just get out of it and be like, oh, well, yeah, this is the thing, but I'm not the governor anymore. I got what I wanted, so bye.
Sure, Jan. That's my response to you, John. I know you think you are invincible, and in some ways you kind of have been, but I don't believe that you're just going to end up being A-okay through all of this. I just think that something would happen if that stuff does eventually come out. And, hubris, that is what John Dutton is. He's just so used to, look at me with my ranch and all of my stuff and my money and my governors. I know he doesn't even sound like that, but you know what?
He ain't bragging about that governor's office.
Yeah, you're right about that. I don't even like my governor's office.
Okay, let's talk about Jimmy. It was really nice to finally get an update on him. He's doing really, really well at the new ranch. He is doing really, really well with his woman. And it's so nice to see how far he's gone. I mean, he's one of the reasons that I've really loved the show as much as I have. I've mentioned on the channel before, I'm from Toronto, from Canada. I didn't grow up in that lifestyle of ranching or cowboys or anything like that. So when I first started watching the show, I was like, oh, I'm not sure if this show is going to be for me, but it was immediately like, it's all about family and these different dynamics. And then there was Jimmy, and Jimmy's sort of like the guy like me who just didn't know what was going on and learning about it as we're going along. So he was someone that I was always kind of able to relate to see it through his eyes, a brand new, this is what it is, this is what it's about. And so to have him back, I was just like, oh, this is great.
He was such a just ray of sunshine, like earlier on in this episode, after we got past the branding stuff. It was just so nice to just see him, see a little sort of sliver into his life. He is clearly enjoying himself in a lot of different ways. But I gotta say this. I could never be a cowboy. The moment that he's like up at 3:30 in the morning, I'm just like, no, by no means. I am not doing that.
No, I like to go to bed at a reasonable hour. I am old, so I need to be in bed at 10 and sleep until whenever. It's not a thing for me. I ain't a cowboy.
No, but I really enjoyed that little window. So I got a nice smile out of that. I'm sure we will see more of Jimmy in this second part of the season.
Okay, speaking of smiles,
Yeah.
Colby
Yep.
and Peter. Oh, ow. When he came out and she gave him that kiss and she was just like, I love you. I was like, oh my God, it's all happening. It was just this really nice moment where Colby watched her walk out the door, and you could see it on his face where he likes to joke around. He's like, oh, I'm trapped in this relationship. I don't even know how I got here. But that moment that he watched her walk out the door where she's like, I'll see you when I see you kind of thing, you could see it all over his face. And he was like, I really am invested.
I loved every single thing about that. I loved, him going out there. I love that she even just whispered it. It was just like this soft,
Oh,
like
wow.
vulnerability. I know that was just like one
I
of those
loved it.
moments where, I knew without even us talking about that, we were both gonna be like, we're gonna talk about this for at least like 2 minutes on the
Oh,
video and just how much like I ship those two about as hard as I ship almost anyone on TV just
hmm
because their back and forth is just so fun. And we have had our complaints about the lack of bunkhouse material this
yeah.
season. That is still there, by the way, but at least we have some sort of acknowledgement here that some characters are going to be apart for a while, and that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, who knows when it comes back in the summer exactly where we're going to be? Is there going to be a little bit of a time jump? No time jump? A big time jump? The whole idea is supposed to be that they're supposed to be gone for a year. So, what's going to happen in that time? I don't want any time jump. I want to see nothing. I want to see right where we are, where it's like, are we going to kill Jamie? Are we going to kill Beth? Is John going to get killed? Why isn't Sarah getting killed? It all has to be like right in there.
Okay, now that we're 16 minutes in here, it's time for the biggest criticism I have of this episode. And by the way, really good episode. Like, I don't
Oh,
have any
this was great.
yeah, I don't have any huge criticisms, but I am just sort of sitting here being like, are you guys really doing enough with Thomas Rainwater, Angela Blue Thunder? Like all of the like they are a big part of the show. They
Yeah.
have been for a long time, but the literal purpose of Rainwater in this episode was to put John Dutton somewhere so that he could then be dragged away from that place. Like it could have been anybody. It didn't have to be Rainwater. It didn't have to be any of those people. And I'm just sort of sitting here being like, I know there's a power struggle going on, but he is sort of representing one of the most powerful reservations that's sort of out there in this world. And to just not get more insight into that community, it's a missed opportunity.
Rainwater's being, misused. He really is. I mean, the actor is, so prolific, and the character has been so important
Yeah.
to this, all these other seasons to this show, that it's kind of like this pipeline and everything that's going on, which is could be such a
Yeah.
huge story, is completely getting swept away. I mean, even when John was giving his speech after he found out what Jamie did, and he went back up and was like, listen, this can't overshadow what we are talking about here with this pipeline. It can't be, but it is. I mean, you can't just be like, I don't want it, so that's not gonna happen. I mean, it is.
Is this where I take the L on the wolves? Like I sat on here on these videos.
They mentioned the wolves. They came up. I saw that in the show where it was like, oh, and by the way, also these wolves. I'm like, oh, Matt's got a W here, kinda. It's like, because they are piling on everything. It's like, oh, he did this, he did this. Don't forget the wolves. They have come back into play.
I still think I'm like, I don't know. I hope
No,
I'm not
that's
taking
not
the
a no.
L.
No,
It's
they're
just
coming into play. They may not be coming into play in the way that you said, where they are the top dog.
ah, see.
But they are coming into play.
All right, now we just have to be sad. Like it's a very long wait. I mean,
It is.
at least we know kind of to a certain extent what things are going to look like. We're going to have like these people being like, I'm going to kill you. No, I'm going to kill you. And apparently that is going to be the foundation for where we
Listen,
go.
if somebody doesn't die, if one of these main characters that are all trying to kill each other doesn't end up dying, I'm going to be going into, the next season being kind of like, come on. Like there's no skin in the game at this point, where it's like when you're watching like a procedural
Yeah.
and someone walks into somewhere and it's like, oh, and a bomb went off. Okay, no one's gonna die because it's all the main characters. You're like, 12 seasons in. No one, that there's no real stakes here. They're not killing anybody. And because they've already done this, you can't
Yes.
do it again.
That is our decree. We have said it. Yellowstone, you must follow our decree. It doesn't seem like you filmed anything else yet. So you know what? You have time to change it to suit our
No,
demands.
right.
All right. Well, all of you cowpokes out there, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching,
Thank
and we'll
you.
see you here next time.